Hello, my dear haunted CreepyPasta family. I hope all of you are definitely enjoying our scary story. I just have one request from you, that if you are watching this video and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please quickly press the subscribe button. It motivates us to bring more such content for you. So, let's embark on this journey of a terrifying story. It was one of those nights in America where the air itself seemed restless. A thin fog rolled over the suburban highways, neon street lamps bending into the darkness like crooked teeth. I had been driving Uber full-time for 3 years, mostly the night shifts. There was something about the night, the anonymity, the silence, and the way people revealed pieces of themselves during late-night rides. But some nights felt heavier, like the shadows themselves were watching. What happened to me on the night of October 31st in Cleveland, Ohio, was not just another ride. It was the ride, the last one I should have ever taken. It was 11:32 p.m. when the app pinged. A request came from a location just outside the downtown district near Lake Erie's shore. The username on the screen was simply Lydia. Odd. No last name initial, no picture, just white letters on a black background. Usually an Uber profile carried at least a bit of detail. Still, the surge price was good, and I needed the extra cash. Mortgage was late again, and the silence of bill collectors started feeling more dangerous than noise. So I swiped accept and drove toward the pickup point. The street seemed unusually deserted for Halloween. The city had been buzzing with costumes and laughter earlier in the evening, but now the sidewalks were littered with empty candy wrappers and plastic masks half crushed by passing cars. Almost like the city had been abandoned in a rush. When I reached the pin, my headlights cut across an old, empty parking lot overlooking the lake. There was no building, no party, no bustling group waiting. Just one figure standing at the far edge. She was tall, thin, with pale skin that reflected the moonlight unnaturally. Her hair was long, black, and wet, as if she had just washed it, or maybe stepped out of something worse. She wore old-fashioned clothes, not a costume from the night's festivities, but something older. A grayish wool coat that hung too low, and black shoes that clicked sharply against the pavement. I leaned over, forcing friendliness into my voice. "Lydia?" She opened the passenger door without answering and slid in. Her movements were precise, deliberate, like each gesture had been rehearsed. A faint smell of damp earth followed her, filling the car instantly. Her voice, when it came, was barely above a whisper. "Take me home." The app displayed an address 30 minutes out of town, toward a rural stretch of road. I didn't question it. I pressed the gas. The car hummed down the cracked streets, headlights carving tunnels through the fog. Inside the vehicle, silence stretched like a living thing. I kept glancing at her through the rearview mirror, but her eyes were fixed outside the window, unblinking, watching nothing, or maybe something I couldn't see. To ease the tension, I asked the usual small talk. "So, you're from Cleveland. Big parties tonight, huh?" She didn't move, just stared out. Then slowly, she spoke. "Do you ever wonder," she said with a strange calm, "what happens to the drivers who take the wrong passenger?" I laughed nervously. "Like serial killer horror stories? I try not to think about that." Her head turned toward me, and in the mirror, her eyes locked onto mine. They were gray, cloudy gray like fogged glass. "They never go home," she said softly. The temperature in the car seemed to drop. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. I convinced myself she was just being creepy, maybe drunk, maybe high. People said weird things in Ubers all the time. But then she said something that made my stomach lurch. My driver last time, he didn't believe me either. The GPS guided me out of the city, onto older roads flanked by skeletal trees. No cars passed us. The sound of the tires on cracked asphalt was the only company. At one point, I noticed the map on my phone glitching, the glowing lines stuttering as if unsure of the road ahead. I tapped the screen, my anxiety climbing, but Lydia's voice floated forward. "Don't worry, I know the way." I wanted to tell her that I relied on GPS, not passengers, but something in her tone, an eerie authority, kept my mouth shut. The road narrowed, streetlights grew sparse, and then there were none. Just the endless dark of rural Ohio stretching out, the lake fading behind us. Then she began humming, soft, low, a tune that pricked my memory as if I had heard it in childhood, though I couldn't place it. The melody wove through the car like smoke. That smell returned, this time stronger, like wet dirt mixed with something metallic. Blood?
We passed an old billboard, so weather-worn it was nothing but a frame of rust. Past it, I saw something run across the road. Not a deer, not a dog. Too fast, too broken. The legs bent wrong, like it was running on joints that no human or animal should have. I hit the brakes hard. The car skidded. When I looked in the rearview mirror, Lydia was smiling. "You saw him," she whispered. My throat went dry. "What was that?" She didn't answer. She only leaned closer to the glass, fogging up the window, and whispered again, "Not far now." The pin dropped us outside a house I swear hadn't been on that road 30 seconds earlier. One moment there was just endless forest, and then there it stood. It looked abandoned. Windows boarded up. The front steps nearly collapsed. No lights, no sign of life. "Here," she said, finally meeting my eyes again. The ride ended on my app automatically. My phone fizzed, the screen dying without warning. Panic scraped my chest. "Look, I don't feel comfortable leaving you here. Is someone meeting you? Are you sure this is—" Her hand shot out and touched mine, cold, too cold to be alive. "You should come inside," she said calmly. Every instinct screamed drive away, but my body moved against reason. Whether from exhaustion, fear, or something else, I stepped out with her. The fog pressed in, thick and wet. The house door opened with a groan, though no one touched it. Inside, the air was colder than outside. The floorboards sagged. Pictures hung crooked on the walls, black and white photographs of men and women, none smiling. Each frame cracked like glass fractures on a windshield. One photo stopped me cold. It was of an Uber driver. I recognized the logo on the car in the shot. The man's face was pale, his mouth open in horror. Before I could process the image, the lights flickered and Lydia's voice cut through the stale air. "They always come inside." I tried running. I swear I tried, but the hallways stretched, bent, multiplied. No matter where I turned, the same picture frames stared back, same faces, same frozen victims. Then I heard them. Steps from the upper floor, dozens of feet moving at once, too many, and the creaking of weight descending the staircase. Shapes emerged, figures in shadows, pale and broken-limbed like the thing I had seen cross the road. Their eyes glowed faintly, dull like candle ash. Each one wore something familiar, a baseball cap, a company uniform, an Uber jacket. Drivers. One stepped forward, whispering in a ruined voice, "Should have never taken the ride." Lydia stood in the center, her face serene. "They bring themselves here," she said quietly. "Those who need money, those who ignore the warnings, those who keep driving when the night calls them. Every ride is a choice. And now, you're staying. The figures closed in. I don't know how I'm writing this. Maybe this phone isn't really dead. Maybe the connection isn't severed. Maybe this is one of the ways they spread what happened, lure others down the wrong road. If anyone ever reads this, hear me. Do not pick up a passenger named Lydia. Do not follow when the app glitches and leads you off the familiar roads. And if you see the house appear from nowhere, do not stop. Because I didn't. And now, I'm still driving. Only, not where I thought. The rides keep coming, but the passengers are never alive. And every trip ends back at the house. Time doesn't flow normally anymore. When I turn the key, the engine roars, the roads stretch, and the app pings. Another rider appears, but the names are always strange. Names no one uses anymore. Eleanor, Thomas, Hiram. Their faces are pale when they climb in, their voices dry like paper, and their destinations always lead back to the same dirt road. It doesn't matter where they start. Sometimes the pin appears in modern Cleveland, sometimes farther out, Akron, Youngstown, even Toledo. I'll look around and see the bright glow of gas stations, the familiar fluorescent buzz of American highways. For a moment, I think maybe I've escaped. But then the GPS flickers. Roads fold back on themselves. Billboards show names that aren't brands anymore. And the passengers never talk, except in whispers. Always about the house. Last night, if night even means anything here, the passenger was different. He wasn't silent. He was an old man, dressed in farmer's clothes from another century. He carried something on his lap, a book, heavy and bound in cracked leather. As I drove, he spoke in a shaking, measured tone. They once called it a meeting place, before roads, before your cars. Travelers passing through the woods at night always reached the house. It takes them the way old rivers take the dead. I asked him what was inside the book. He ran his long fingers down the spine. Names, he said. The ones who drove, the ones who were claimed. I wanted to see it, to know if mine was among them, but something in me already knew the answer. When I dropped him at the house, he stepped out and left the book on the passenger seat. The cover burned cold when I touched it, and though I tried not to, I opened it. Page after page, drivers' names. Some pages written in neat ink from the 1800s, others smeared in typewriter print, then scratched in pen, then typed in the blocky font of smartphones. And there, at the bottom of the most recent page, still wet like fresh ink, David M. 2023. My name. Each return to the house is different. The first time, it was abandoned. Then the next, lights glowed from inside, though no electricity should run there. The third time, the boards were gone, and curtains swayed as if families still lived inside. Every ride ends the same way. The passenger steps out, turns toward the porch, and disappears inside. They never open the door. They simply fade into the wood. But last time, I saw something new. In an upstairs window, a light flickered on, and behind the glass was me. Not a reflection, not a trick of the fog. It was me, hands pressed against the glass, mouth open in a silent scream, banging on the window for help. Yet I was outside, watching, my real body frozen. And the other version of me? He was wearing the exact same jacket, the exact same hat, down to the stains from spilled coffee. I don't know which one of us is real anymore. They come to me sometimes. When the car idles, I hear voices through the radio static, crackling words shaped like warnings. Turn back. Don't take the ride. Too late now. And when the fog is thick, I see their faces pressed against the windows, even when no one's booked a trip. Their mouths are sewn shut with strands of black hair, their eyes hollow. I think they want me to join them. Or maybe I already have. Tonight, the request came at 2 a.m. The name shocked me. Lydia. It had been her, that first night, the one who started this endless loop. But when I picked her up, she looked different, alive, almost normal. Her skin had color now, her eyes not cloudy but sharp. She sat in the back, folding her hands politely. "Do you remember me?" I almost crashed then and there. My voice trembled. Why me?" Her expression softened, almost sad. "Because you were already halfway here, even before you picked me up. The ones who drive at night, the ones who never go home, the ones who need money more than sleep, they're easiest to catch. Their wheels are already turning." I wanted to scream, wanted to throw the car into the lake, but instead, I kept driving. The house appeared sooner this time, as if it had always been waiting just around the corner. Before she stepped out, Lydia leaned forward. "Next time, another will pick me up, and you'll be waiting in the window, just like the others. Wave if you want to." Then she was gone. And when I looked up at the house, I was in the window this time, lifting one hand slowly. It happened again tonight. A ride request came in from a suburban cul-de-sac, the kind lined with trimmed lawns and porch lights still glowing against the foggy night. The rider's name was just unknown. No address, no photo, no estimated fare. I almost didn't take it, but the app, which had been dark for hours, pulsed like a heartbeat until I pressed accept. When I arrived, the street was empty. But then, just faintly, I heard the sound of footsteps. Slow, dragging. Someone emerged from the dark, moving in uneven jerks like every bone was cracked and mended wrong. I didn't even see the door open. The figure simply appeared inside the car, seated in the back. It was me. Not a reflection this time, not a trick of glass, but another version of myself, gaunt, hollow-eyed, bruises around the neck like he'd been strangled. He didn't speak a word, only looked at me through the rear-view mirror with wide, rotting eyes. The GPS instantly lit up, directing me back to the same dirt road. The house waited. Always the house. But when we pulled up, only he got out. And then through the upstairs window, I saw two of us staring down now. I decided to stop at a gas station before my next pickup. Anything to anchor myself back in the real world. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, the smell of stale coffee and oil filling the air. Inside, the clerk didn't look surprised to see me. He just slid a worn journal across the counter without a word. The journal was filled with entries going back over a century, not written like stories, more like logs. Drivers before cars existed, men with wagons, women with horses, travelers who had stopped at the house, picked something up, and never left. They all described the same thing, written in different hands,
different languages. The road never ends. The house always waits. On the last page, fresh words bled into the paper as I stood there holding it, my handwriting forming right before my eyes. It read, "Still driving, still trapped, still him." The scariest rider yet came at 3:15 a.m. She entered the back seat slowly, wearing a hooded sweatshirt. When she pulled the hood back, there was nothing where her face should be. Just smooth, pale skin, like clay. Yet when she spoke, I heard my mother's voice. Then my father's. Then my sister's. Familiar voices shifting from one to another, all begging me to turn around and go home. But I couldn't turn the wheel. The car drove itself, tires locked on that cursed road. When she stepped out at the house, she didn't fade into the wood like the others. Instead, she pointed at me with one hand, slowly lifting her finger to the second-floor window. Someone was waving at me again. Not one version this time, a crowd, dozens of me pressed against the glass. I tried crashing the car. I swerved into a ditch, slammed the gas pedal until the engine screamed, rammed into trees. Each time, sparks and screeches filled the air. But then everything reset. I was back on the paved road, the GPS glowing, the map guiding me toward the house. I tried abandoning the car and running, but the fog thickened the moment I stepped out, and somehow, within minutes, I was seated behind the wheel again. I screamed. I tore at my own skin until my nails broke. But no matter what I did, the app pinged again. Another name, another ride, and always the return. Last night, Lydia came back again. Not pale this time, not monstrous, just calm, sitting in the back as though she'd never left. "You know what the house is yet?" she asked softly. I didn't answer. Couldn't. "It's not a place," she continued. Her voice was almost kind, like a teacher explaining something simple to a child. "It's hunger. It's the gap between the living and the dead. It needs messengers to bring them in. Drivers." I shook my head violently. "No, I didn't choose this." But she just smiled. "You did. Every time you swiped accept, you said yes. You kept driving even when the night told you to stop. You joined the road, and now you are the road." The car stopped in front of the house once more. I looked at the window, but this time there weren't dozens of me. There weren't even two. There was only one, and he was smiling. My phone buzzed tonight. Not the Uber app. A call. Impossible. It showed no number, just the word home. I pressed it to my ear with shaking hands. Static poured through at first. Then my own voice came back to me, hollow and distant. "Stop driving. Stop driving. Stop driving." The line cracked and went silent. The phone died in my hand, screen bleeding black like oil. When it rebooted seconds later, the rides were queued again. 4 requests lined up, all marked Lydia. The first one climbed in. Another version of me. This one younger, tired, his Uber badge fresh. The second was worse. Me, older, eyes sunken, lips blue, like he'd drowned. The third I could barely describe. Skin peeled, jaw broken, still grinning as blood dripped down his shirt. and the fourth sat in the middle seat, pristine and calm, like I had been before all this began. He leaned forward and whispered in my ear, "Drive. We've been waiting." The car carried all 5 of us, no matter how little space there should have been. The air reeked of rot and gasoline, and the GPS pointed home again. Always home. This time when we arrived, the house was alive with lights, warm yellow glows in every window, music drifting faintly, like an old gramophone dragging through a warped record. The door swung open before I could even blink. Inside, I saw a dining table, dozens of chairs, every one of them filled by other drivers, copies of me, of others, men and women in uniforms from across centuries, some in horse reins, some in taxicabs, some in modern hoodies, all staring at me with hollow eyes. There was a seat at the head of the table, my seat. Lydia stood beside it, smiling gently, as though she'd saved a place all this time. "You've driven enough. Now it's time to sit." Something inside me rebelled. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the last spark of being human. I shook my head violently. "No, I won't sit." But the drivers at the table shifted, their jaws twitching in unison. The sound of their teeth grinding filled the house. Lydia's smile faded. "Then you will keep driving, forever, until the wheels wear thin, until the road itself consumes you. But you will deliver, and deliver, and deliver." My hands moved against my will. Keys turned. Engine roared. The house vanished behind me instantly. But the table, the faces, those grinding teeth, I could still hear them inside my skull. I think I finally understand. I am not the driver, and I am not the passenger. I am the road. Every time someone works the night shift, every time someone takes just one more ride, every time someone heads down the wrong street too tired to notice, that's when I appear. A notification, a ping, a rider waiting in the fog. I deliver them to the house, and then I take another, and another, and another. I think about the table sometimes, about the empty chair waiting for me. One day I'll be too tired to refuse again. One day I'll sit, just like they all did. Until then, I keep driving. The app never runs out of names. And tonight, when my phone buzzed again, the request shocked me. It wasn't Lydia. It wasn't unknown. It was your name. Are you ready for your ride?
The phone buzzed again. One more request. One more name. I stared at the screen, but this time, there was no PIN, no address, no destination. Only the word end. My hands shook as I tapped accept. The seat behind me creaked. Someone had entered the car, though I never saw the door move. I didn't want to look, but the rearview mirror betrayed me. It was nobody, just emptiness. The seat dented down, but air sat where a body should be. Still, a voice filled the car. Familiar. My own. Drive.
The road stretched on, darker than ever. No streetlights, no signs, no towns. Just endless asphalt unraveling before my headlights. The GPS, usually glitching and circling back, finally went dead. I drove blind, the hum of the engine the only sound in the world. The longer I went, the more I felt the car sink, like the road was swallowing the tires, the frame, the air itself. The voice in the back seat whispered over and over, "It ends when you stop." At last, in the distance, I saw it. The house. Not half visible, not flickering in and out, but whole, glowing in the night as if it had been waiting centuries just for me. The door was wide open. The upstairs window shone bright. Every figure I had seen before was there, all the other drivers, all the passengers, and every version of myself crowding the glass, smiling with hungry patience. The wheel turned on its own. The car rolled forward. I knew this was it, the final stop. Either I entered and sat at the table, or I quit driving forever. So I stopped the car. I turned off the engine, and I whispered, "No." The road screamed. The house shook. The figures in the window clawed at the glass, their mouths stretching wide in silent rage. And then, everything went dark. I woke up on a quiet suburban street in Cleveland. The morning sun poured down, real and warm. The fog gone. Birds sang, children laughed, sprinklers hissed across lawns. My car sat idle by the curb. No app, no rides, no passengers. My phone, when I unlocked it, was blank. The Uber app was gone. For the first time in years, there was no ping, no voice, no request. Maybe I broke free. Maybe I escaped the road. Or maybe I just started the longest ride of all. Because even now, sometimes, when the night grows too still, I swear I hear it again. That soft vibration, that familiar buzz, the word glowing on the screen. Lydia. Do tell me in the comments how you liked this story, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next horror story.